very similar to the last week's puzzle books. In fact, if you look at it, you might think it is from the same series. It is not. What's different about this is that it's the right size. In terms of physically, it's A4 instead of A5. But again, it's a lot more wordy. There's a lot more text per page. The puzzles themselves are not that much more complicated than those in the puzzle books from last week. For example, this one is find what's odd, and the first thing you see is directly in the light, and it's a hand. And there's this one, which is find your way through the maze. It's not very complicated in terms of puzzles, but what is interesting about this book is the art style is very, very different from last week's puzzle books. It's very detailed. It's much more biologically correct. It's about learning about marine life. So if you look at that, it's actually got more or less accurate pictures of sea life and stuff, and it'll ask you to find like the sea otters. So if you can buy into the MacGuffin of the story, which is that a brilliant scientist would need 3 children to go around in her magical submarine that can travel not only around the Earth in the course of one day and go to every single ocean, but also is able to detect a very, very specific rare type of marble all over the world by doing like a magical tracking device. If you can buy into that, then actually a lot of the stuff in this actually teaches you about marine life and marine biology. It has things like how to deal with like meeting pufferfishes and that sort of thing. It's much more accurate to our world than the Osborne puzzle books from last week. Last week's puzzle books, they're all set in sort of a mystical world. There's pink elephants, there's purple mice, there's monsters and magic and all sort of things. This is more or less set in the real world, but it does have, obviously you have to buy into the idea of a magical underwater machine and some slightly unrealistic science, but for the most part it is actually true to real biology, and is actually quite an interesting learning tool. Moving on. The Fairground of Dread. This is a really interesting choose your own adventure picture book. So it starts off with you are playing a monkey, or you are with a monkey. Your task is to stop Professor Killjoy from releasing his anti-laughing gas, which will make the world miserable. His secret laboratory is hidden in an abandoned fairground. Each time you choose a new path, you'll be told which page to turn to next. There are many hazards. You must negotiate mazes, search for clues, solve puzzles. All you have with you is a pair of handcuffs. Your sole companion is a monkey called Mimi, who is not always very helpful. Whatever happens, you cannot turn back. Good luck. So what will happen is, at the end of every page, it will give you an option of which pages to turn to, and once you've solved the puzzle, it will give you another 2 options to turn to. Some of them will give you dead ends, some of them will give you like really good progress things, some of them will give you clues that will help later, and some of them will just kind of travel you through the book. I remember being quite scared of this book. It's quite dark. The pictures are quite scary quite a lot of the time if you're not fond of fairgrounds and that sort of thing. There's some relatively creepy imagery in this. But if you enjoy this sort of thing, it's actually a really, really good, fun book. The puzzles aren't usually that difficult, but sometimes you have to use your intelligence. Like this one, you've got to spot historical anachronisms. You've got to spot things like, if it's a waxwork, would it be smoking? And that sort of thing. Some of them are harder than others, some of them are really just find what's there. But yeah, this is another puzzle book. It's really good, it's quite dark, and it's kind of a combination of a puzzle book and a choose your own adventure. The sun has set. I will be turning my light on now. Turtle Quest. This is perhaps one of the most interesting puzzle books that I own. It's very unique in that it's actually a board game and a puzzle book combined in one. So what will happen is, on every page, you have to find the magic turtle. So what will happen is, on every page, you can't really see, I don't think you'll be able to see it on my camera very well, but there are little bees dotted around the screen. So there's a purple bee there, a purple bee there, purple bee there, and a purple bee there. And you have this magical turtle. And what you'll do is you'll match up the square to the purple bees, and then you'll turn it until you answer each puzzle. So this one must be there, I think. No. It's really hard to do this while showing you guys. Okay, you might just be able to see this. If you line up the magic turtle with this page, it's really hard to show you guys, and line it up with the yellow bees, it shows you where the bad limes are. It's a really interesting puzzle thing because it will show the clues depending on how you rotate either side of the square. So it's very detailed, very complicated pictures, and unlike a lot of the other books, it's an entire fantasy world, but it actually is really complicated and complex, and it has a lot of really interesting things going on. For example, this page has got towns that are going through a civil war, and you've got to find the correct codes to get through using your magic turtle. Obviously it's kind of half, as I said, half board game, half puzzle book, and it's really very interesting. It's a very beautiful, detailed world, and there's a lot going on. You've got to face off with deities. For example, the river gods have stolen your reflection, and you've got to find all the parts of your reflection before you can move on. It's really very interesting. It's a very beautiful book, and at the end of it, all of the puzzles kind of correlate into a really, really beautiful, interesting message about the magical turtle that is the world. So on the back of this, I don't know whether or not you can see very well, but it's got symbols that represent either roads to take or places to end up, and that all correlates back to a map at the beginning. So what it'll do is at the end of each page it'll give you a symbol which gives you the type of road you take and your destination. So you have to follow your way around the world. Generally it's really hard to explain, but this is a really, really interesting book that has a lot of replay value, and I really enjoyed it. Just don't lose your magic turtle. And I'm about to run out of battery, so I will finish off puzzle books next week. Thank you for watching. Feel free to comment down below, and I'll see you guys all very soon, in 2 weeks for another puzzle book final video, and then some other form of children's books, and tomorrow for another vlog of some kind. See you guys all very soon. Sorry to wrap it up so quickly, and bye guys.